On today's episode, I'm going to tell you all about Pettyjohn and his unique approach to pedals. So hang on tight, because here we go. As you've heard me say on the show over and over, companies don't make things, people do. So to understand Pettyjohn and these pedals I'm about to show you, I want to tell you a little bit about the company's history and the man behind it. His name is Stephen Pettyjohn, and he is a studio creature, a mastering engineer, an engineer, producer, guitar player, and a studio manager for years and years. And around 2014, he decided to take a stab at creating a guitar pedal that encapsulated his favorite things about pro audio high-end gear. The crazy parts, the wild power voltages that run through the circuits. The whole thing for him was this experiment. Can I take this high-end pro audio thing and put a guitar pedal out that kind of encapsulates it? So he does. I see this thing. It's released in 2014 and it's really wild. This is called the PreDrive. So the Pettyjohn PreDrive, and it's a steel chassis. That's real rust, people. You don't paint that on. You let it rust. It's a little hard to use for some people. I remember when it came out, it was you turn the knobs, you feel it out, you see what happens, and it does really well. This is actually the prototype unit. I opened it up a bit ago and it's fantastic. But this evolves into the PettyDrive. Now the PettyDrive gets, in my opinion, even a little bit more complex because look at all the switches in the middle. It's just, you can just feast on options. Crazy pedals. I mean, nothing like this had ever come out in the industry. Voltages internally are wild. It's a true studio grade piece of equipment in a steel enclosure at your feet for your guitar, and the company really starts to take off. Then he takes this concept and he decides to drop the 2-in-1 nature, meaning 2-foot switches, 2 circuits side by side, and strip things down into singular units. This is called the Iron, and it's part of one of these, and things keep growing. He finally puts labels on the controls, and things get a little more simple and a little more digestible. He has a new line of pedals, and they're called the Core series, and he also has Mark IIs of what he calls the Foundry series. So I'm going to go through those. We're going to play some, and I'm going to tell you what I think about them. They're really cool, and they're really different. Here we go. The new era of Pettyjohn for 2020 on starts with the Foundry series. All of these pedals are $299, and they have a really good niche of being incredibly high-end, made with a lot of the same components and the same philosophy of the original line, but being a little more affordable and more accessible and more simple. So the first ones I want to go over, let's do the gold first. So one big crazy thing here is that this entire line, the Foundry series, runs at an internal 36 volts rail to rail off of 9-volt power. That's a lot of nerd talk for that's wild and crazy, and no one does that in pedals. It's completely unheard of. True studio grade components, top shelf stuff. Yeah, you can even get a discrete op amp option, which is another nerd talk for if you want this to have the components that like a high-end API preamp would have. He can do that as well. It's completely over the top, but completely necessary if you want it, and I think it's amazing. The MkII here is his cranked plexi sounding high gain drive. The lows go before the drive section, so you can actually use that to distort things by putting pre-emphasis bass into the drive section. Really cool. Powerful mids control, gain, highs. It's a fantastic sweep. The ranges that he chooses for EQ are awesome. So let's do like some AC/DC, but not because we don't want to get flagged. up is the Chime MkII. This is the lowest gain offering of the 4 Foundry series, and my favorite of the Foundry series, maybe my favorite pedal that he makes right now. I don't know. That doesn't matter because you're not me and I'm not you, and we can't be each other, but I can tell you what I think. Yeah, so let's talk about the pedal. Level, drive, tilt EQ, and boost. Tilt EQ is one of my favorite EQs. It's like, it's better than a tone control. It's better than a normal tone sweep. It's actually something that kind of came about because of radios, and then it got put into hi-fi equipment. I've used it in my Pulp and Pill. The Crayon uses it. I'm a huge fan, and I think he's the only other person I've seen use this in a drive circuit. So for that, like, there's massive bonus points for me. High pass filter from 700 to 30, very, very usable. And then you have a clipping control, which is in a knob. Now, this is classy, people. Normally, you just put a toggle switch. I do it too, you know, one option, other. No. Not with Steven. You get to blend them. You can go from germanium to LED clipping or in between. It's just those little things that make this line of pedals and how he thinks really special. So we're going to do something. We're going to do something like old school clean tones. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Core series is $199 per pedal, and they're really fun. They use this brand new Gorva enclosure that really not a lot of people are using yet. It's really rounded. It's a beautiful looking pedal because of the way he's designed it and kind of that unique case. So it has the same philosophy here. These are $199, but still incredible headroom, high voltage internally, quiet bypass, high-end parts, that whole thing. This is called the Rail, and I want to start on this. This is a really unique fuzz pedal. Now it has lows and highs, with the lows being pre-drive emphasis, meaning you can distort using frequency, which is really, really great for a fuzz and quite unique. You can run this at 7 to 18 volts, and the drive control is a stepped rotary pot. So as I turn it, it actually clicks into positions. The very last position is wild. It's like an infinite sustain. It's just tons of saturation, tons of clipping. We'll start with this, see what happens. Play something radical and crazy right now. Next up in the Core series is the ODI. 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 Kind of like Garfield's pal, the dog. Or was that the cat?
No, it was the dog. The other cat's name was Nermal.
Nermal?
Yeah.
Nermal. ODI. Because it's based around the 1978 OD1. OD1, ODI. Anybody in here?
Oh.
Anybody in here? So Steven used one of these pedals. It was his first overdrive ever. Had it in his rig, used it for 10 years, sold it, decided he missed it, so he made his own better, updated version. What's cool is that the OG doesn't have any tone control. You're just stuck with where they set it. So he has that low control that he uses and the high control pre-emphasis lows. It's awesome. That's all I'm going to say about it because you need to hear it. This is a real prize because there's a lot of drive pedals. There's a lot of Tube Screamer style pedals, blues breakers, stuff like that. But no one's really taken an OD1 and like put a unique tone control on it. So you might want to check this out. Last up in this core series is a really mega fantastical pedal. It's pretty cool. It is the ROUS, or more properly named Rodent of Unusual Size. It's an acronym. It's a good one, and the pedal lives up to the acronym. So what we have here is his Genius, and I don't use it lightly because people make Rat clones all the time. This is a genius take on the classic Rat. We have the level, we have the typical drive control, which he has really done some cool stuff to in the lower registry, and then he replaced the filter control with his low and high control, pre-emphasis lows, and then you have the swamp fire switch. Let me talk about this. The fire engages mystical germanium diodes. It's the stuff of legends. It's really cool. When you're down in the swamp section, though, you can pull off some really unique sounds. Everything about this gets unique. It has the normal Rat you love. It's all there. But the low gain sounds are so good. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put a DD8 up here with some reverse delay, tap it into the tempo, let it kind of set like a pad, and we're just going to go to Dreamtown. We're going to take a Rodent of Unusual Size to Dreamtown. See what happens. Before we go over to record time, I want to just let Steven speak for himself. I asked him, what do you want people to know about your company? If you had an elevator pitch for what Pettyjohn's all about, what is it? So here's what Steven wants you to know about Pettyjohn.
A totally non-pretentious way, because I really respect everyone's work. My kind of core view on this Foundry series is like, these are professional tools that are on the same level on every single part as anything in a rack in the studio. The analogy for me is I want to be a Milwaukee, of the power tool, of the pedal. It's like, someone else makes a good tool too, but if you have a Milwaukee, there's this idea that you're not going to find a better tool. And you can find a different tool, you're going to be pressed to find something that's better quality and well-rounded. I'm trying to push the envelope on what is theoretically possible with an analog circuit in a pedal box.
Today's record time is brought to you by 2011's Nothing Is Wrong by Dolls. This album is awesome. It's my favorite Dolls album. I'm a little shocked that I've never shared Dolls on the show. For that, I'm sorry, but I'm fixing the problem here. So forgive me. Check this out. Track 1, Time Spent in Los Angeles, is my favorite Dolls song. It's magical. It has a Boss VB2 on the intro. Taylor Goldsmith, the front guy, guitar player, singer, he uses a VB2. He leaves it on all the time. He uses a treble booster, low wattage amps. This is just a beautiful record. Their music is simple. It's played out live. There's amazing Hammond B3 mixed with the guitar. The drums are dry and everything's just, it's just great performances caught on tape. And yeah, you got to check it out. If you haven't heard this, let me know what you think in the comments. If you love DAWs, I know a lot of you may, talk about your favorite DAWs record and why that is. Yeah, that was a good record time. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. In the comments below, tell me what your favorite pedal that I played today was. Tell me why. If you own a Pettyjohn pedal, I'd love to hear all about that, how you got it, when you first saw them. Let's just have a chat. Hit like if you like this episode, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to get notifications of future episodes, and have a fantastic day. There's also some links in the description for Patreon and a show site where you can buy stupid shirts like this. It's up to you. Have a good day. Bye.